friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with part 2 of my Netflix thrillers movies series, and this is based off of the April 2019 article posted by Esquire where they recommended 30 Netflix movies to stream that are thrillers, and I went through Netflix and there's 18 movies still available, so I am watching them in alphabetical order, how they recommended them. I will leave the part 1 video to this down in the description box if you are interested in hearing about the first 3 movies that I watched. Today we will be talking about Copycat, which is by far my favorite in the bunch, Enemy, and Green Room. These are all very different from each other. I would say Copycat is probably more of your typical thriller movie, and surprisingly I have watched this one before as well, but it's been a very long time, so I didn't even realize I had watched it before until I started watching it again, and I was like, oh yeah, I saw this like so long ago. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little bit of information about it and then just like my brief thoughts, and maybe you would like to check out one of these. Okay, so the first one that I watched is Copycat. It was released in 1995, so it's more on the older side of things. It's rated R for violence and language. It's a 2-hour and 3-minute film, and it's about a hunt for a serial killer that is impersonating other serial killers. One of the main characters was a victim of a serial killer attack, and now she is in her apartment and has been for the last 13 months and counting, but she used to be a criminal psychologist, so she always gets into the mind of these serial killers, and when there is this new serial killer on the loose in San Francisco, she ends up working with the police to try to find them and track them down, but she's doing so from her house because she is agoraphobic. So Sigourney Weaver does an excellent job in this movie, and it's an older movie, so if you want to watch it, I highly recommend it. This is more of like the cat and mouse type thriller game. The killer is playing a game with the police, but also with the character of Sigourney Weaver, and it's kind of just like back and forth, and the killer is taunting the police and taunting the psychologist, and there are some definitely shocking moments in here. It is violent. It does show some of the crimes. It shows lots of the photos. So if you're squeamish to that type of stuff, I would stay away. But I really liked this. Like I said, I consider this one of those like classic thrillers. Like this would be the book that I would read out of all of this. And like I said, it's more thrillery than some of the other ones. This one was released in 2013. It's an hour and 30 minutes long, and it's also rated R for strong sexual content, graphic nudity, and language. And this one is loosely based off of a novel that was published in 2002 by a Portuguese author, Jose Saramago. I'm not positive if that's how you say it, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature. But then in 2004, it was translated into English and published, and the title was The Double. So if you go into Goodreads and you look up The Double, that's pretty much the basis of this movie. It's about this guy that seems to be really depressed. He's a history professor at like a college, and a lot of his lectures seem to center around like repetition and like history repeats itself. One of his colleagues one day recommends a movie to him, and he checks out the movie, and then something wakes him up in the middle of the night, and he goes out and sees in this film that it's like replaying this one part where it like kind of like a back side character looks exactly like him, and of course he is intrigued by that, and he does some investigation, and he like wants to confront this person and see like, is it a real person? Am I imagining things? Like, what's going on? It's very interesting. It has this very indie feel to the whole film. It's got these sepia heavy color schemes throughout the movie. Also, it's set in Canada, which I thought was very cool. It's a very slow-paced thriller. It's not like thrilling thing after thrilling thing. It's very slow-paced. It's very atmospheric. It's very foreboding. It's very gritty. And there are things that are foreshadowed throughout the film. Now, this filmmaker, I am not familiar with a lot of filmmakers, but this particular one, I guess, has like a certain style or a certain type of story that they like to tell. So this is like classic for this director. Ending, I don't think, even after reading an article that kind of explains the ending to you, which I will have linked in the description box as well, I don't think I fully understand it, but at the same time, like, I still loved it. I still enjoyed it. And that final shot of the movie, I will never forget. Like, it's just one of those things that was so unexpected and so crazy that I like want to recommend this movie to you just for that. Now, I think if you look at like a star rating on Netflix, it's only got like a 2 stars or something like that, because it's very slow paced. It's very kind of humdrum. And yeah, it's just really interesting. The main character is Jake Gyllenhaal, and I love him as an actor. He's like one of my favorites. The beginning is very slow, but it kind of just has that pace throughout. Like I said, like a Riley Sager book, where it's just like nothing's really happening until like towards the end, but it's all kind of like the build up. So if you like those type of books, you might like this. And if you've read The Double, I would highly recommend you check out this film, because it was very interesting. And that ending though, but it's not very long. It's only 1 hour and 30 minutes. So not very long. Okay, this next movie I did not like. I considered like stopping it and like DNFing the movie, but it's called Green Room. It was released in 2015. It's rated R because of like the blood, the gore, the language, the subject matter, just kind of like everything. It's 1 hour and 35 minutes, so it's another short one. I think that's the only reason I was able to get through it, if we're being honest. This follows a punk band, a punk rock band. They're ending their tour, but they're still trying to like make money. They get a recommendation from some guy to go to this like rural club out in the middle of nowhere. And they go, they don't know anybody there. So I'm looking down at my notes. They basically play their set and they're paid and they're getting ready to leave, and the female band member says, "Oh, I forgot my phone." So another member of the band like goes into the room to get her phone, and he stumbles across a scene of violence. Basically, there's a woman laying on the floor and she's got a knife in her head, and there's some other people around, some skinheads, and because they were discovered, he immediately has the phone, so he calls 911, calls the cops, and then the people in the club stop him and they say, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna call the cops." The cops are coming, but they like fake another stabbing out in the parking lot, and then the cops go away, and then the people left of the club, like the owner and like the pit boss or whatever you want to call it, want to eliminate all the evidence of the crime and the people that witnessed or saw like what happened. So it's a modern horror film. I really wouldn't call it a thriller. It's very bloody, it's very gory, yeah, it's very graphic, but basically just shit hits the fan after they see that woman laying there, and it's just kind of non-stop until the end. The body count is high. There is a pit bull dog in the movie, and I don't like using pit bulls as like violent dogs in films, because they already have that stigma attached to them. So I really didn't like that either. But yeah, if you like horror films, maybe check it out. yeah, that's all I'm really gonna say about that. So those are the 3 films I watched this time. I would say out of all of them, definitely check out Copycat. That's my recommendation of the 3. The next 3 I will be watching The Hateful Eight, which is directed by Quentin Tarantino. I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which is another horror type thriller. It's set in the 1970s, so I'm excited about that one. And then the third one is In Bruges? I don't know how to say it yet, but I'll let you know in the third part of the series. But that's all for today's video. Let me know if you've watched any of these movies and what you think down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check the description box for a couple of links to the first part in the series and that article talking about the movie Enemy and the ending and stuff like that. But I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye!